When money anxiety controls your life, a healing story about financial stress. Money anxiety has a way of slipping into your life quietly at first. Maybe it starts with one unexpected bill or a moment of hesitation before checking your bank account, or the familiar tightness in your stomach when the rent reminder shows up. It builds slowly, like water rising in a sink with no drain, until suddenly every decision, every grocery run, every date night, every bill feels like a weight pressing on your chest. I remember talking to a man named Eric about this exact feeling. He walked into my office on a Tuesday afternoon carrying a coffee he didn't really want because spending $5 on it already made him feel guilty. Before he even sat down, he said, "I'm tired of feeling like one wrong move will ruin me." He wasn't being dramatic, he was being honest. Financial stress does something unique to the mind. It turns ordinary life into a series of tiny emotional earthquakes. Checking your mailbox becomes a risk. Opening your bank app feels like jumping into cold water. Even good things, like being invited somewhere, come with a quiet panic. Can I afford this? Should I even try? Eric told me something that stuck with me. "I feel like I'm being chased," he said. "Not by anyone, just by numbers." Numbers can be terrifying when you're struggling. They don't care how hard you're trying. They don't care how exhausted you are. They don't care that you're doing your best. They just sit there, cold, absolute, unforgiving. But here's the part people rarely talk about. Financial anxiety isn't just about money. It's about safety. It's about control. It's about the fear of falling through the cracks with no one to pull you back up. And in the United States, where so many people live paycheck to paycheck, this fear isn't some abstract worry. It's real. It's daily. It's heavy. Eric grew up in a family that never talked openly about money. What he remembered most wasn't the numbers. It was the tension, the silence at the dinner table when bills piled up, the way his parents whispered in the hallway, the constant sense that everything could collapse at any moment. He carried that into adulthood like a bruise that never fully healed. He said he felt ashamed for not being further along. That phrase, "further along," is a quiet poison for so many people. It creates this invisible race no one remembers signing up for. And when you feel behind, every financial mistake feels catastrophic. Every setback feels personal. Every unexpected expense feels like proof that you're failing at life. I asked Eric what he feared the most. He didn't think long. "Losing everything," he said. "Ending up with nothing. I know it sounds irrational. I know logically I'm not one paycheck away from disaster, but my body reacts like I am." That's the thing about money anxiety. The body doesn't care about logic. It reacts to memories, patterns, associations. It reacts to the sense of scarcity you grew up with, the fear you inherited, the mistakes you never forgave yourself for. Most people assume the solution is budgeting or being more responsible, but that's like telling someone with panic attacks to just calm down. Financial anxiety is emotional before it's practical. I told Eric something I want you to hear too. You're not weak for feeling scared. You're not irresponsible. You're not failing. You're overwhelmed. And overwhelmed people don't need criticism. They need compassion. Eric said he didn't want to talk about the numbers. He wanted to talk about the pressure, the shame, the heaviness. He said he felt like he was holding his breath every day, waiting to see if the math worked in his favor. So I asked him a simple question. When was the last time you felt financially safe? He paused, he thought, and then he answered, "I don't think I ever have." And that is what financial anxiety really is. A life lived without the feeling of safety. The next time Eric came in, he brought a notebook, not with a budget or a list of expenses, but with thoughts he had never allowed himself to write down. "I realized something," he said. "Money stresses me out, even when I'm doing everything right. It's not about the situation, it's about me." That wasn't him blaming himself. That was him finally understanding himself. He wrote about how he apologized every time he spent money, even on things he needed. How he avoided opening letters because he didn't want another reminder of what he owed. How he stayed up late imagining worst-case scenarios: car breaking down, losing his job, an unexpected medical bill. "None of it has actually happened," he said, "but my mind acts like it already has." That's the power of financial anxiety. It turns possibilities into predictions, and predictions into fear. I asked him what he wanted instead of fear. He said, "I want peace, just once. I want to buy groceries without calculating every item in my head." Peace isn't a luxury, it's a basic need. But for people living in financial stress, peace feels like a faraway country. Beautiful, but unreachable. So we started small, tiny steps, not fixing his finances, fixing his relationship with money. He practiced opening his bank app without bracing himself. He allowed himself one small purchase a week with no guilt. He wrote the sentence, "I am allowed to feel safe," at the top of each journal entry. He forgave himself for past mistakes. Slowly, his body began to unclench. Not because his financial situation changed overnight, but because his relationship to fear changed. One day he said something that told me he was healing. "I realized my anxiety wasn't warning me. It was protecting me from a life I'm not living anymore." There's a difference between fear that keeps you safe and fear that keeps you stuck. Eric learned to tell the difference. He started to see money not as a threat, but as a tool, something neutral, something he could learn to manage, not something that controlled him like a shadow following him everywhere. He wasn't cured. Healing isn't a switch. It's a slow, gentle reintroduction to safety. He still worried sometimes, but he didn't spiral. He still had moments of panic, but he didn't believe every thought his anxiety offered him. He learned to breathe again, and that's what I want for you. Financial stress doesn't make you weak. It doesn't mean you're failing at adulthood. It doesn't mean you're irresponsible or careless. It means you've been carrying too much alone. It means you grew up with fear instead of confidence. It means your nervous system learned to associate money with danger. But you can learn something new. You can learn to feel safe without being rich. You can learn to spend without guilt. You can learn to breathe without fear of bills. You can learn to let go of the shame you never deserved. Peace with money starts inside you. And once it begins, it spreads into your life in ways you didn't expect. You deserve that peace. You deserve a life where money doesn't control your happiness. And you deserve to feel safe again.